The following has been brought to you by SJP World Media.
You're listening to In the Corner with Tyler Peters. Unfiltered, uncensored, and unforgiving. Here's the man from across the pond, Tyler Peters.
Hello and welcome to In the Corner with Tyler, a wrestling podcast that's available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. You can listen to archived episodes on those streaming platforms. It's in association with In the Corner with the great Benny Mack on the SJP World Media Network. I'm going to be discussing Impact Wrestling, a recap of what transpired last week as it is building toward the Emergence pay-per-view on Sunday, August the 27th, live on pay-per-view. Here are some of my quick highlights. We saw a video package spotlighting Deonna Purrazzo challenging Trinity for the Knockouts Women's title. Speaking of Emergence, the pay-per-view. As aforementioned, the Coven got involved in Purrazzo's and Trinity's business. The Coven consists of Taylor Wilde and Colleen King, a very talented duo. Santino Marella made a tag team match where Trinity incidentally contacted Deonna. It helped the Coven get the victory. So it's very interesting to see how this all plays out when referencing not only the Coven, but Purrazzo and Trinity. Remember, Trinity also spent time in the WWE. She was in the tag team with Sasha Banks, now Mercedes Money, or Monet, as some would say. And Deonna Purrazzo is so talented. Technically, is just a master inside the squared circle. And the Coven, Taylor Wilde, has recently returned to Impact Wrestling. Colleen King, I've got to see her firsthand on the independent scene. She's been in NWA. She is just truly incredible at what she's able to do also in the squared circle. We also get an update on Bully Ray, Brian Myers, and Moose. They want the X Division champion, Lio Rush, to join their team to align with them. Ken Rush actually trusts Bully Ray's faction. And I must say, Bully Ray just keeps reinventing himself. I've always been a huge supporter of the Hall of Famer and member of Team 3D. I mean, the nostalgia, the memories just keep flooding back in when we're discussing Bully Ray. And I've always been high when we're speaking of Brian Myers and Moose. And Lio Rush is so versatile. It's good to see him be X Division champion. Recently was with AEW, also spent time in the WWE. It's nice to see how the journey's coming full circle in a lot of ways. Additional video footage depicts the Rascals cheating to advance in a tag team tournament. So just a lot of moving parts. So I've got to be honest with the audience, the listeners. It's been a long time since I've got to check out and recap some Impact Wrestling. I started getting into Impact back when it was TNA, Total Nonstop Action Wrestling, in its earlier versions on Spot TV and before. So that's how far back my fandom goes when having a conversation about Impact Wrestling. So a lot of just compelling storylines going into this episode that help remind the audience, the spectators, of what exactly is going on, occurring in other words. And also, big news regarding Impact and New Japan Pro Wrestling. They present Multiverse United 2 from the 2300 Arena in Philadelphia on Sunday, August the 20th, this upcoming weekend as I'm recording the podcast. And Emergence, like I've said before, is going to be that following Sunday on August the 27th in Toronto via pay-per-view. I think you can also stream it on FOT TV. But let's continue with the progression of this episode of Impact, shall we? We see the first round tag team #1 contender tournament featuring ABC. That would be Bullet Club, the team of Chris Bay and Ace Austin, versus Rich Swann and Sami Callihan. Bay against Swann was fascinating to view. Ace Austin and his tag team partner were simply sensational. I actually typed it up in my notes as I was recapping Impact. Callihan embodies a different breed of wrestler. He's coming from more of the hardcore presentation. Improvised combination theme procedures recurred during this just thrilling opening matchup. The team of the Good Hands interfered, and this allowed Swann and Callihan to defeat ABC. That would be Chris Bay and Ace Austin representing the Bullet Club. Next, we see the Coven. Taylor Wilde and Colin King approached the Director of Authority, Santino Marella. Remember, he had the sock puppet back in WWE, but his career has so much more depth when you go back and research Marella's body of work in pro wrestling. So it's nice to see him reemerge, in a sense, similar to a Bully Ray, a PCO, and we're going to have more of a detailed conversation in the coming weeks as I'm recording more content for the In the Corner podcast, especially as it pertains to my solo venture here when speaking of Impact Wrestling. To clarify with our listeners, we see Rosemary and Jessica Havoc. They state their case. It's all in telling the Knockouts women's tag team titles, and I hope I got that correct. Like I've stated before, I'm having to relearn Impact Wrestling, its current incarnation, if you will. But it's all about the Knockouts tag team titles for the women's division. And currently, those champions are Masha Slamovic and Killer Kelly, and I hope I get the pronunciations correct. They will fight anybody. I'm paraphrasing a lot of the promos and backstage segments. I mean, it kept you engaged. You were focused. You were interested in what these wrestlers were doing. So a lot of props go to Impact Wrestling. Put respect on their name, if I can borrow the term there. And then we see a match between Gujar, and I hope I'm saying that right. He's from India. I'm not even going to dare try to say the first name, but he took on Dirty Dango with Alpha Bravo. And Dirty Dango used to be Fandango. Maybe it's Fandango. I've heard it said multiple ways. But this was a very riveting match. Dango apparently does not like pro wrestling, coming more from the sports entertainment approach like WWE. So he's bringing that kind of attitude into Impact Wrestling. But Gujar showed consistent progress as Dirty Dango weathered his opponent's rally. And Alpha Bravo assists Dango. He's a distraction. And we all know Dirty Dango still loves wrestling, as Dango would get the victory. But Jake something comes out. He's tired of all this running down of professional wrestling, something he's worked hard for, he loves. So he takes umbrage with what Dirty Dango is stating. Jake loves wrestling, and he can make Dirty Dango leave if he wants to. Dango tried ambushing Jake using Alpha Bravo once again as that distraction, but an elbow solved Jake Something's problems and sent Dirty Dango crashing down to the canvas of the ring. Cody Deaner with Khan present a demented vignette. And I want to compliment Impact Wrestling on the character development. It may not always be my cup of tea, or in my case, a cup of coffee, but I do enjoy these compelling story arcs as it relates to what Impact Wrestling is wanting to accomplish here. And whether I liked or was fond of what Cody Deaner and Khan were doing, it still drew me in. So a job well executed and well done. Eric Young is the target. He's their topic. As Eric Young betrayed them, it goes back to the group's origin. And their name is The Design when discussing the group. It seems interesting yet bizarre in the same use of the term, or pardon me, the terminology. I'll even have to edit myself a little bit. And then we move along into the program. The number one contender for the Impact World Champion is Johnny Swinger. We're just referencing Bully Ray, PCO, and so many of these other legends and veterans that are reestablishing themselves. And they don't have to, but they are. Johnny Swinger, I can recall him and recollect his matches back in WCW, World Championship Wrestling. And to see how he's re-energized his career, it's a feel-good story when talking about Mr. Johnny Swinger. But Kenny King is the media champion, from what I gather, for Impact Wrestling. He's quick to interrupt and insult the veteran Johnny Swinger. And it will be that Johnny Swinger is the number one contender to the world champion, Alex Shelley. That would have helped if I would have said it. I'm kind of laughing as I'm going by my notes, and I'm trying not to, but hey, it's a good reference. I'm going to be very transparent with all of you. It's just a good roadmap, if nothing else. But yeah, Alex Shelley, one half of the Motor City Machine Guns. He is just doing a tremendous job. I love what Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley, whether they're together or they're doing it as a singles competitor, they're just doing wonders for the Impact Wrestling brand. It's good to see them still associated with Impact Wrestling at that. But our next match is a women's contest featuring Alisha Edwards with Eddie Edwards, her real-life husband, versus the talented and uniquely skilled, I'm trying to think of the words to describe Jody Threat. It's Alisha Edwards against Jody Threat. I'll say it again, so in case I didn't get it out. It's a little bit uncensored, as you can tell, just like the regular In the Corner podcast is. Alisha sees out-of-position techniques that kind of borrowed from commentary. They do such a masterful job at explaining. They've got to be storytellers, inherently, just like the talent that's in the ring and featured in the backstage segments or during interview spots. Alisha knows how to turn up her offensive volume. And Jody Threat posed dangerously. And Eddie Edwards nailed Threat circa a kendo stick. And Frankie Kazarian, they've had their issues. He comes out to attack Eddie Edwards and costs Alisha, or maybe it's Alicia. I've said it so many different ways, just, relaying it to you. So forgive me if they're actually going to hear this. And, it'd be great if they do, but I highly doubt it. I say this to say that it cost her the match because Arian accidentally hit Alisha Edwards with the kendo stick. So I'm just once again fascinated to where this is going to go between Kazarian and Edwards. We all know this goes back to the last pay-per-view and what happened with Frankie Kazarian's real-life wife and former knockout. I believe her name is Tracy Brooks, if I recall. And I should have put it in my notes. That would have helped, right? Duh, Tyler, come on. I'll add a little comedy, some comedic elements. And then we get a nice video package of Deonna Purrazzo addressing Colleen King, who will be her next challenge regarding next week's edition of Impact Wrestling. Also, Deonna Purrazzo is making headlines for throwing out the gauntlet to talent from Stardom, from the famous Japanese women's wrestling promotions. So it's more that crossover with a lot of the Japanese outfits, whether it be New Japan Pro Wrestling or Stardom. So for those fans and for the audience that's going to cross over with Impact, that is very exciting. And I'm even intrigued myself. Next, we get a match with Speedball Mike Bailey taking on Kushida. That's a name that's familiar. Mike Bailey's made the rounds. He's became very prominent as of late in the world of professional wrestling, whether on the independent scene and equally the professional scene additionally. Kushida went low correctly. The match was technically satisfying at moments. I mean, I think a lot of people, if they preferred high-flying spots, it denoted as such with a lot of the high-risk movements. Kushida manipulates ligaments and I think Kushida's hoverboard lock looks painfully cool. I try to be a little different with my slang there. Try to stay hip and cool. I don't know if that correlated or worked right then, but hey, sometimes you try things and you find out they don't work as good as you would desire them to. Anyways, Kushida sent Bayley back to the future was the name of the maneuver for the victory. And I will say, Speedball Mike Bayley, so unorthodox, innovative, much like a Kushida, even though both you can draw a lot of contrast to. But just a fantastic match between the two. Speedball Mike Bayley and Kushida are who I'm referencing. Earlier, we saw Tom Hannafin, who formerly was, I think, Tom Phillips in the WWE. I wanted to say Todd, but somebody can help me out. I think it was Tom Phillips, but Tom Hannafin with Impact interviewed Crazy Steve. We get more character development, which I think is important in wrestling storylines. We see it in all various forms of entertainment. He needs Tom's assistance, meaning help. His friends create an abandoned feeling. He just feels abandoned. It's a priority for Impact to get these stories conveyed to us, the fans, their audience, as they should. Crazy Steve reveals he's legally blind, adding some credibility, some of the believability, I'm trying to rhyme here, and realism to the story. And then we see video package of Subculture, Flash Morgan Webster, Mark Andrews, and Danny Luna, who accompanies them. Their history goes back to NXT UK when it was a brand, and also the regular NXT. I believe they were there, if I'm not mistaken. I was a big fan of those guys then, and her as well. Speaking of Danny Luna, taking nothing away from her. That's why I wanted to add she, pronouns, pal. But, they defended the Impact World titles at an independent show. We saw the video footage. They will remain the champs. It was a pretty cool matchup from the highlights they showed on Impact Wrestling. But yeah, these guys are they're awesome. I'm so happy for them and for Danny as well. The whole package, Subculture. And what a just neat name. But yeah, going back to NXT UK, the United Kingdom, they were just tremendous. Were and still are. Past, present tense. We're going back to English class all of a sudden with Subculture. Now, I'm kind of moving on a little bit. We're going to get Eric Young versus Khan and a lot more next week. Sonata will make an appearance. Maybe he'll even have a match at Emergence. More of the New Japan collaboration. It's nothing new. Impact and New Japan have worked together. They have tag teamed, and I think it's a wonderful thing. But from what I understand and have read, Sonata may even be injured. So he's worked through it. He's tough, like a lot of the talent, men and women. They have to work through injuries, a lot of the athletes, and a lot of other sports and forms of entertainment. So we're going to get a lot related to next week's episode of Impact. Once again, it keeps building toward Emergence, and we've still got the collaborative show with New Japan Pro Wrestling and Impact coming up this weekend. And let's get to the main event. The 6-man tag team match featured Moose, Brian Myers, and Bully Ray versus Black. I want to say this name is Taurus. I want to say Taurus, but it's actually Taurus. It took me a little bit to think about it. I got to be transparent with everyone, including myself, naturally. And Laredo Kid and Samurai Del Sol. But Leo Rush apparently showed his true colors. He attacked Samurai Del Sol before the match as cameras went backstage. So it appears that the invitation from Moose seems valid. Maybe the X Division champion, Leo Rush, is going to align with Bully Ray, Brian Myers, and Moose and help make that team even stronger. And I thought they were already pretty incredible, if you ask me. And then Alex Shelley, Chris Sabin, Josh Alexander has returned, and Kushida all watch backstage. They are all part of a team going in, to Emergence. Trying to speak English. It's hard, even for a guy that should know how to speak it. Evidently, I'll make fun of myself. Laredo Kid uses abruptness, meaning quickness, versus Moose, the bigger, stronger, powerful, but probably even quick on his feet is Moose. I mean, what a just great athlete when you're depicting Moose and his attributes and methods. Bully Ray, he's resourceful. We talked about reinventing himself. He gets the psychology. Black Toulouse went back down from the Hall of Famer. Give him credit. Myers, Bully, and Moose take advantage, though, of this 2-on-3 situation with Samurai Del Sol being taken out by Leo Rush previously, just moments ago. And it would be, taking advantage of the referee being knocked out. Let me go back to that point. Got a little sidetracked. Pardon me. Bully Ray attempts to rip the mask off of Laredo Kid until all of a sudden the lights fade to black. PCO comes out of nowhere. He saves Laredo Kid. The lucha mask is steeped in a lot of history and Mexican heritage as far as the lucha libre style of wrestling and presentation. I miss Mike Tenay. I need Mike Tenay right now. That's what I loved about WCW Monday Nitro, as Mike Tenay could explain the Japanese culture, the Mexican culture, the American culture, whatever you needed. He was great at providing the historical color commentary. And I thought he did a great job being the play-by-play guy for Impact Wrestling with the late, great Don West. What a team they made. But I remember the Nitro days of hearing Mike Tenay and getting to actually see him and just the way he could break it down. He would interview a lot of the luchadors. It was just phenomenal. AJ Styles would be proud. There you go. And PCO would give chase to Bully Ray, another guy that's just, rejuvenated his career. Is PCO. Black Toulouse and Laredo Kid almost won because PCO prior took out Brian Myers and Moose after chasing Bully Ray, and the expression before when PCO first appeared after the lights came back on that Bully Ray had when going back to his demeanor was just off the charts. I mean, Bully Ray sold it, and it was great. Myers, though, would pin Laredo Kid to give his team the win. But Bully Ray, still in disbelief, he departs via a car as PCO is just livid. But we all know there's going to be a continuation next week going into the Emergence pay-per-view. But that has done it. I mean, I was even taking my time. I was excited and still got through it pretty fast. And, hey, the more this show evolves, I want to apologize in advance. This week is a little bit busier than other weeks, and that's going to happen. It's live. So there will not be an NXT AEW review, but there will be next week. And I think I'm going to add Impact with that, but I wanted to do a special new episode featuring Impact and kind of dedicate it to one brand, at least this time. So thank you for joining me and listening to me and putting up with me. More importantly, there's a lot of me's in there, but it's all about you all because we're nothing without your support. If nothing else, support the great Benny Mack and his In the Corner program and the great Cy Powell and his SJP World Media Network and all those fantastic shows. And I would love your support for this show, In the Corner with Tyler. I'm going solo, but sometimes I got to make the tag to Benny or Cy or whoever else. And I can't wait to see where this goes. It's just going to keep getting better and better. I'm going to try to correct my mistakes and get better, but I hope you join me for the ride. If you like Impact, if you like NXT, if you like AEW, if you like WWE, maybe you like it all. That's okay. It's cool with me. I'm trying to stay positive, but I'll critique the more I get educated on Impact Wrestling. I've had to get re-educated with WWE over the years. There's that period of time where even though I'm a fan of wrestling, I don't always catch everything. And that's true even today. So a lot of times I'll rely on you all. So yeah, hey, give me your feedback, your comments. You can help me out in case I messed up a name or didn't get a match correct. Hey, that's going to happen. We're live as I'm recording it, pal, but the edited version helps me out. But I've already went too lengthy, but I wanted to express my gratitude. And I hope you enjoyed this review of Impact. Hey, there's going to be spoilers, so I also want to make sure that you know that in case you didn't watch Impact. So you may not want to listen to this till at least afterwards. But please still listen. Did I seem desperate? But I am Tyler Peters, the host from over here in the UK, from across the other direction of the pond. Did I even get my history and geography correct? I need to go back to class, to school in general. And maybe to a wrestling school. No, you don't want to see that. That would be a scary image. But I'll tell you what is fun, though, is recapping some Impact Wrestling. I'm just having a blast. I'm having a good time, and it's been loads of fun so far. It's just my second episode, but I hope I've made an impact, pardon the pun, because we reviewed some Impact Wrestling. It's time to put some respect back into Impact Wrestling by recapping it and giving them their just due. Peace out. Until the next time, farewell.
Loved what you've heard on this week's episode? Well, the answer is simple. It would mean the world to us if you could head over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review and feedback. Spreading the word really is the best way to grow our podcast and achieve even greater things. Thank you.